Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Narcolepsy Optimized YouTube channel. Today's episode is going to be really special. We're going to be talking about energy supplements and narcolepsy. And I am really excited to show you guys what's inside of this video because from the hours and hours of research that I've been doing to create this video, I found some incredibly interesting things regarding medication and supplements and all of that stuff and how it ties in together and how it works in the brain. And I hope to give you guys a really good grasp on that here. And I hope you guys come out of this with some really good information, some really good knowledge. At the end, I'm going to also show you guys some additional steps you guys can take if you guys are interested, if you guys have narcolepsy and all of that good stuff and how to improve that through natural avenues. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Energy supplements and narcolepsy. Now, before we get started, as you guys would expect, there's a disclaimer here. Always consult your doctor before adding supplements to your regimen, changing prescription doses, all of that good stuff. I am not a doctor. Do not pretend to be. Also, guys, if you decide to take any of these supplements or do any supplements, be sure to do your own research and only take one supplement at a time. If you guys come in and you guys take 10 different supplements at once, you guys have no idea what's working well, what's not working, what's having positive effects, what's having negative effects. So when you're taking supplements or when you're adding anything to your regimen, always start with one single thing at a time so you guys can see how that affects you, right? Making a bunch of changes once doesn't work very well. So before we get started and I can really explain the spectrum of the supplements and how they're going to work, I want to talk about stimulants for just a quick minute. And when I talk about stimulants, I'm talking about modafinil, I'm talking about Adderall, Ritalin, the classic narcolepsy stimulants. And how do they work? What mechanisms do they actually use to make us feel more energized, right? To make us feel more focused? And what happens is these stimulants activate our central nervous system. And during this activation, it releases two primary chemicals. One chemical called dopamine and the other chemical called epinephrine, norepinephrine, commonly known as adrenaline. All right. Now, adrenaline is responsible for our flight or fight response. So if you're in a life or death threatening situation, your muscles activate, you become fast, you become strong, and you're prepared to either fight off that threat or run or whatever you need to do to get out of that life or death situation, right? And the way that this does that is that one of the primary ways is it mobilizes energy sources and increases blood glucose, right? So blood glucose is just sugar in your blood, right? That gives our muscles, that gives our brain and everything more energy. So when we consume stimulants, it is activating this system, right? It is giving more energy into our system. That's why we feel more energized. We feel the ability to focus more, and all of those positive effects, right? And this is often why individuals on stimulants don't eat very much because this basically tells the body that they don't need any additional calories and they're in a life or death situation. So eating is not very important right now, right? And that's one of the side effects when you have narcolepsy stimulants is that people don't eat very much when they're on them. All right. So the next chemical, this is where it starts to get really interesting. Okay. So we have adrenaline working when we take a stimulant. The other chemical that's working is called dopamine. And dopamine is our reward chemical in our brain. Right. And so if you've ever taken Adderall or modafinil, like probably most of you with narcolepsy have, including myself, you feel this euphoric feeling, right? You feel really good. You feel really motivated. You have a lot of drive, especially at the beginning when you first take it. And there's a reason why that dies off. And I'm going to save that for another video. This whole dopamine spectrum of feeling good and motivated and feeling the crash. There is a whole nother side to this that's extremely fascinating. I'm going to save it for another video though, because it's going to take much more than just a few minutes to explain. But what you need to know is high dopamine levels, they increase our goal-oriented behavior, our energy levels, and increases our ability to learn, right? So anyone who takes Adderall or modafinil or whatever, they know that they're faster, they're smarter, they can do things quicker, they can learn faster. And again, most of you guys have experienced this just as myself. All right, so my question was, how do we get these similar effects, right? How do we activate the central nervous system um, to increase our blood glucose and to increase the dopamine levels in our brain? All right, so those were my two. That was my pathway on looking at these supplements, because I could have done the basic supplements. I could have said take a multivitamin and take vitamin 3 and get out in the sun more and work on your probiotic and digestive health. But I thought that information was quite redundant and a little bit boring. So I think this is going to be much more interesting. All right, so how do we have similar effects that stimulants have on us while taking supplementation, natural supplements, as opposed to taking pharmaceutical grade medication? All right. So before I go in and dive into all of these, I want to tell you guys, I feel like I'm just getting the tip of the iceberg of this research and this information, right? I feel like there's a ton more to dive into and to understand before going in consuming all of these supplements. I personally am not ready to take any of these supplements, but I am continuously researching them. So my plan is to do probably a part 2 to this, with more extensive information for those you guys are interested. So do your own research before consuming. I'll show you guys how to research and where I got all this information, so you guys can go in and look at it for yourself too. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be breaking these down into 3 different categories. Category number 1, we're going to talk about supplements that increase dopamine to the brain. All right. So just like we were talking about before, the stimulants that we are taking, they increase dopamine quite significantly. Again, that's a whole nother topic, but a lot of dopamine is being released from the stimulants that we take. All right, category number 2, we're going to talk about how to increase blood glucose to the body. All right, so that was that secondary effect of adrenaline. Category number 3, we're going to talk about supplements that work on the cholinergic system. All right, so this is basically our brain system that is responsible for attention, and what supplements will work on this system that don't increase blood glucose. All right, so category 2 does increase blood glucose. Category 3 does not increase blood glucose. Okay, again, I'm not recommending any of these supplements. This is just an overview of information, right, for you guys to kickstart this thing and get going. All right. So let's talk about supplements that increase dopamine. This is, again, the pleasure chemical. This is the drive chemical. This is for the chemical that makes us want to do more, that makes us want to accomplish, that makes us want to go out and see things, that makes us feel good. It's a really nice feeling chemical. The problem is that it can get imbalanced if we're trying to stimulate it, which is part of the issue. But the first one we're going to talk about is mucuna purines. So this is a bean, actually, a bean supplement. And this has been shown to have many positive effects for Parkinson's disease, as well as infertility. That's kind of its primary use right now. But it does contain the precursor to dopamine, L-DOPA. So it is going to trigger a release in dopamine. Right now, the side effects of this, one, you're going to feel good. You know, supposedly when you take this, you're going to feel very similar response. I've never taken it, but you're going to feel that euphoric, feel-good feeling of the release of dopamine. You're going to feel motivated. You're going to feel a lot of drive, right? The downside of this is these effects are short-lived, all right? So when we take the pharmaceutical grade stuff, this effect can last from 4 to 8 to 10 hours, right? If you're on short or extended releases. But this is not going to last that long. From what it seems like, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours. Again, it's going to affect everybody differently, but the effects are going to be a little bit short-lived. And also it's going to induce a crash, which we've all experienced from taking stimulants, all right? It's going to feel pretty similar, right? You feel great, and then as the medication wears off, you kind of feel pretty crappy. And the other issue is when you're relying on an external substance to mess with your dopamine levels. It tells your body that your body does not need to regulate these substances anymore and can cause some issues. But for us, if we're already taking stimulants, if we're already going the pharmaceutical grade, this could be something to look further into. Okay, again, I'm not suggesting, I'm not ready to take it, but it is something that I'm interested in looking more into. L-tyrosine is another one that is going to increase dopamine levels. This does not have as dramatic of an effect. And the studies that have showed are still controversial whether the substance is highly effective releasing dopamine. But there are people who do use this for focus. So when they're trying to work, they do use this supplement. All right. And as far as a supplement goes, this is a pretty safe supplement, little side effects, but also the energy and focusing still seem to be short-lived as well. All right. So let's go to the next category. We're going to talk about increasing blood glucose. All right. And these are a form of nootropics. All right. And when we talk about nootropics, we can get into a whole category of different nootropics. And most nootropics include a whole slew of items that have all kinds of stimulating effects, including caffeine and stuff like that. For this, we're talking about just singular chemicals. We're not talking about actual product nootropics. All right. And all of these different nootropics, can have different motivating effects. So don't get too hung up on, on those small details. But for these ones, their primary outcome is they increase blood glucose. And increasing blood glucose does give you the ability to learn faster. It does increase your performance for an athletic standpoint. It does give you attention. It does give you drive. All of these things. So these particular ones, piracetam, I'm not going to pronounce these right, so you guys can see those three right there. These three, they don't have any neuro improvement effects. Okay, the only cognitive effects are from the additional release in glucose. So if you were to take out the increase in blood glucose, these don't have any particular nootrope or neural improvement effects, which is our next category. All right, so these are often used for people suffering from cognitive decline. That seems to be the primary use for them, but there is some promising evidence that they do release blood glucose and it can give you those performance effects. All right. Last one. This is another form of nootropics. This works on the cholinergic system. So this is actually having a neural stimulating effect. All right. And the cholinergic system is responsible for many different aspects. So this could be sensory perception. This could be attention. This could be arousal. All of these things. All right. So these particular compounds work to stimulate and enhance the cholinergic system. So again, these three categories, essentially, this is how the stimulants that we take work. All right, when you're taking Adderall, when you're taking Ritalin, when you're taking modafinil, all of these things, and you wonder, like, why do I feel energy? How is this working? That, what I just described, is how it works. Increase in dopamine, increase in blood glucose, increase in adrenaline. All right. And these particular supplements, again, do have some evidence that they're a good route to go and to learn more about. Again, I'm not ready to take it, but I am definitely very interested in how they work and how they affect the body and what could potentially be used to supplement medication to potentially decrease the amount of medication taken. And again, I'm not a doctor. Go over this stuff with your doctor. But the idea would be to decrease the amount of medication taken, increase the supplemental use in hopes that the side effects from some of the supplements would decrease. All right. Again, a lot more research needs to be done, but this is really, really cool and interesting stuff. All right. So what to do next? If you guys are like, okay, this is pretty cool, I'm interested. Most likely you guys, if you're sticking around to here, you probably do have narcolepsy. We have a Facebook group called Narcolepsy Optimize. If you guys are not part of that, that is a really, really good group. We give out a ton of information and stuff like that on alternative ways to gain more energy with narcolepsy. Also, guys, down below in the description, I'll put some links to some trainings, some articles, some references and stuff like that where you guys can join. So definitely check out the description for more additional resources. All right. Now, when we talk about what is the real next step for you guys, besides subscribing to the channel if you like it and showing your support with a thumbs up if you guys like this content. It really helps me continue to research and put this stuff out, knowing that I'm helping people. So if you guys do like it, subscribe, hit the thumbs up. That is really supportive for me. All right. But for the next steps, check out the Huberman Lab podcast. This is a neuroscientist from Stanford. I get a ton of my information from this. This is where a lot of my information stems from. He talks a ton about sleep. He talks a ton about all of the stuff that we were interested in, not narcolepsy particular, but when we're talking about boosting energy, when we're talking about improving sleep, when we're talking about increasing our focus and our drive, this guy is awesome, right? He knows his stuff. It's a pretty scientific podcast, right? It's going to be maybe even a step higher than what I just described. But there's really, really good information in there. And if you go in the descriptions, you'll be able to check out specific points that he's talking about. He timestamps everything. Every 5 minutes, he tells you what he's talking about. So definitely check out that. Podcast number 18, that's going to talk about energy boosting. And podcast number 39, that's going to talk about dopamine. And this is, again, the dopamine system and the medication we're taking, they play a very, very big role and how we feel and how we function. And there's so much information in that. I'm going to put together a whole nother episode, a whole nother video on it. But if you guys are interested in that, definitely check out the podcast. Also, examine.com. This is a way for you guys to check out evidence and information on all the supplements and more that I provided, right? So if you guys are interested in some of those supplements, you guys want to learn more about it, this is a great website for you guys to start on, as opposed to going and Googling it and getting some Wix or some crazy blog link, whatever. This is a very reputable website for you guys to check out all of that stuff and for you to at least get started on it. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm glad you were here. I hope you guys got some good info. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or if you just want to say hey, down in the comments section, that would be great. Check out our Facebook group if you're not a part of it, and check the links down in the description. Subscribe if you like it. Thumbs up are appreciated. I hope you guys are all doing well. Excited for all of the information that I've been coming across the last few months. I think there's some really, really fascinating things that I'm going to come out with here in the next few weeks, next few months. So stay tuned for all of that stuff. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.